I declare the winner of the 2024 Brownlow Medal, Patrick Cripps of the Carlton Football Club.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Blue Baggers Edge. Thank you as always for tuning in, and to those newbies as well in recent times who have subbed. And I guess if you enjoy our content, feel free to do likewise if you are yet to do so. So thanks as always for your support. Now, what we're here to discuss and delve into in a little bit more detail, because we know what happened the other night. It was an incredible achievement by our Cripper, of course. You know, to win a Brownlow is a spectacular achievement in itself, but to win two is a rare feat only really accomplished by, looking at the history books, just 12 others across the history of the competition. You know, two of which are, of course, former Carlton legends themselves in Diesel Williams and Chris Judd. And it just really great reward for effort, I think. Really just to summarise it for Cripper, we know across his career that he's virtually been, you know, celebrated for putting the club onto his back. And, you know, there's so many games where he's won the game for us via those means, because such is the impact that he's been able to, you know, have on games and provide in terms of inspiration for the rest of the team. So, yeah, it was just really, really pleasing to see. But overall, you know, this now elevates him to new heights. And, you know, what elevates him even further, I think, into a different stratosphere was the staggering amount of votes that he did receive. And this truly does have him in rarefied air, head and shoulders above any previous Brownlow winner, smashing the record number of votes received in any one season with a whopping 45, if you don't mind. But what makes this even more impressive is, of course, Nick Daicos, who finished runner-up, also surpassed the previous vote record of 36, held by Dusty and Wines in recent years with 38. And to me, I think it is this which really does highlight, you know, what such an incredible season that Cripper had. And truly no one was capable of catching him in the end. And even breaking a record here wasn't enough to surpass him. So I think looking at that, it was a bit of a subtle nod, I reckon, to the rivalry between, you know, Collingwood and Carlton in a way, with Cripper's feet almost, you know, suggesting to Daicos, you know, anything you can do, I can do better. So it was, nice to see. And I'm sure the Carlton faithful would have had a little bit of a wider smile on our faces seeing him beat a fellow Collingwood player in Nicky Daicos, who, you know, by society is a fantastic player, a superstar of the competition, and probably will, in his own right, you know, claim a few Brownlows across his career. But yeah, whilst we can, you know, get one over Daicos and Collingwood, we'll take it. Now, for those that have previously tuned in to my content will know I love my stats, of course, and it does form a basis for a lot of my research and discussion from video to video. And I thought, why not delve into this a little further and look at things from a different angle to truly exemplify how dominant a season it was for our captain Cripper. So 45 votes across 23 games. And when you average it out, he's polling on average 1.95 votes per game. So almost 2 votes per game, which is pure insanity. In reality, though, he did poll in 17 of a possible 23 games, which is in itself still impressive. Or in other terms, 74% of his season he was polling in. So crazy, crazy stuff. If you're still not impressed, well, of those 45 votes, he polled best on ground honours, or the maximum 3 votes, in 12 of those 17 games. And what about the other 5 games, I hear you ask? Well, 4 of those were 2 voters, and only 1 game he polled a single vote, which was in the Giants' comeback win back in round 18, that infamous game that kind of marked the downward slide of our season, unfortunately. So I guess to summarise that, when Cripper polled, he wasn't doing things in singles. He was taking big leaps up the leaderboard after, you know, relatively fast start to the Brownlow count. Now, I know our fellow baggers tuning in don't need any further convincing of his dominance, but let's humour ourselves and bring some awareness to opposition supporters, particularly one specific fan base whose collective salt, I reckon, could season all the chips at the MCG on Grand Final day. Now, remember that magical number 45? Well, what if I was to tell you he outpolled not just one club's collective votes in total, not 1, not 2, but 3 clubs, that being Richmond, who polled 19 votes in total, West Coast with 30, and North Melbourne with 42. So again, I mean, when you're not just, out polling guys that are breaking records themselves in Dacos, and when you're going that step further and actually out polling the number of total votes that a specific club has polled themselves, incredible, absolutely incredible. And, for those of you who have followed me on Twitter, of course, over the years on my personal account, and feel free to do so as well if you want to, at DamoJ88, you will know that I have keenly followed the Brownlow for a number of years, conducting my own count across the seasons, dating back to Judd's win in 2010. Now, that was a year I won a tidy 5-figure sum, putting my hard work into an outlay that yielded nice returns, to say it briefly. And, of course, did it responsibly, of course. Now, one key I have identified that has translated into a bit of a trend for Brownlow winners across the years is they share a similar trait of being highly contested players. As we know, the Brownlow is largely considered to be a midfielder's award, and it's no surprise that those in the engine room at the coalface are the same players directly under the eye of the umps as they bounce the ball or throw it up at a stoppage. The other trend I have noticed is it's one thing to be a player who thrives off contested possessions, but it's another putting in a power of work around the ground, otherwise translated to metres gained. Then there is clearances, which, impacting straight after a stoppage, putting the player centre stage. But even more importantly, being able to bridge the gap between being a Brownlow contender and a Brownlow winner is being able to directly impact the scoreboard. So once players add that string to their bow, I believe in kicking more goals more often as a goal-kicking mid. It virtually puts the spotlight over that player so hotly that it is ever so hard and impossible virtually for the umpire to ignore that said player. And what does that translate to? Extra votes. So let's have a look at the rise in Cripper's game over the years and how coincidentally or methodically those seasons featuring high contested possessions, clearances, metres gained and goals have translated to Brownlow medals. So as you can see here, this is a fantastic article written by the ABC that really does delve into in quite a bit of detail the stats around Paddy Cripps' dominance and success across the years and how that's translated to the 2 Brownlows that he has won across the journey. So here we go here. As you can see, this is the breakdown. He's let's have a look at them. They have highlighted here, of course, 2022 and 2024, both years that he did win the Charlie. So in terms of the goals side of things, so his career best was 20 goals in, you guessed it, 2022. This year, he scored 17, which ended up being the second most for his career. And you can also see the comparison across those stats that I have mentioned there. So contested possessions, clearances, tackles, metres gained, and goals. And whilst it does seem, simple enough and probably oversimplifies the whole Brownlow medal process, the methodology when it does come to how the umpires distribute the votes can sometimes appear as though I reckon that they've, been decided by the umpire sitting up a dartboard, throwing darts, and doing it whilst blindfolded, really. Because we saw last season when Neil was given the maximum votes in a game that he had a minimal impact of 20 disposals, eclipsing his clear best on-ground teammate in Charlie Cameron, who kicked a handy 7 goals, but yet Neil was given the 3. Now, Cripps actually had a bit of a taste of that himself the other night, polling 2 votes against Essendon in round 14 off only 19 disposals in a fairly quiet game by his standards. So there are those little anomalies there, and it does happen. It's clear that it can be as complex as it can sometimes be obvious, at least to us. But, that's just one of the many quirks of the Brownlow medal. But what isn't in dispute is the worthiness of Cripps' second Brownlow. In my opinion, it was, a season that I think easily cast a shadow over his first Brownlow season, which, to be honest, I was actually a little bit surprised that he'd won back in 2022, but we're not going to take it away from him, of course, and I was celebrating it just as hard, but not this season, I think. This was a season as dominant as they come, and as I spoke about, to poll as many votes as he did and break the record with 45 votes just, exemplifies that. So the question here is, could he win a third before his career is out? There's only been a handful of players that have been able to do it, so we'll just have to wait and see. But it does feel like Cripper will be holding the voting record at the very least of 45 votes for a long, long time to come. So let us know your own reactions below. Celebrations, everything else, expectations heading into it, as you watch the count unfold. For me, I think, in isolation, yes, it's great to see Cripper win his second, but, as he mentioned in his speech, that end of the day, we're here to win flags, and he's going to be trying his hardest, which he has been doing, hence the reason why he's been winning Brownlows, to, help us win a flag. And for me, I just wish his teammates see his accomplishments, and, if they can capture just a morsel of his determination for greatness, it'd really go a long, long way to forming a successful team, and hopefully a premiership team over the next couple of seasons at the very least. But that's it for another video. Just thought I'd jump on, do a little bit of a deeper dive when it comes to the successful season that Cripper did have. And it wasn't just successful, it was absolutely dominant on an entirely different level. So incredible to see. Of course, thank you as always for tuning in, and thank you in particular to those new supporters of our channel that have thrown us a sub. And if you've yet to do so, feel free to do so, because it does help our channel grow, obviously, but also it means that YouTube does, in terms of the algorithm, present or show our videos to a wider audience and to more blue baggers at the end of the day, which is always a good thing. So with that, ladies and gents, thanks as always. We'll see you in the next one. Go Baggers.
Have you ever heard